Listen carefully, because what you're about to hear may explain why 90% of people never reach their full potential, and how you can be part of the 10% who do. You see, every single day, people wake up, get dressed, go to work, come home, scroll through their phones, maybe watch a little TV, and then do it all over again, day in, day out. But here's the truth. Most of them are on autopilot. They're not living, they're existing. And that's the quiet tragedy most folks never talk about. They fail, not because they're not talented, not because they're not smart, but because they've stopped asking the one question that separates the successful from the stagnant. Why? Why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I keep ignoring that small voice inside that keeps telling me I'm meant for more? See, the world has trained us to be comfortable. From the moment you're born, people start shaping you. Sit still, follow the rules, don't ask too many questions, get a safe job, pay your bills, be grateful you even have that. But let me tell you something powerful. Comfort is a slow death. It's dressed up real pretty, but it robs you of growth. And it's that comfort that kills more dreams than failure ever could. Most people don't fail because of lack of opportunity. They fail because they've been lulled to sleep by the noise of the world. Distractions, opinions, comfort, and fear have become the lullabies of lost potential. That's why so many people settle for average, not because they wanted to, but because they stopped being curious, they stopped questioning their limits, they stopped challenging the system, they stopped believing there could be more. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly got curious about your own life? I'm not talking about scrolling through someone else's story, I'm talking about your own. When was the last time you asked yourself, is this the life I was born to live? Because that question alone, that moment of curiosity, can light a fire inside you that no one can put out. Curiosity is the birthplace of change. It's where every great story begins, not with answers, but with questions. Not with certainty, but with wonder. And the people who make it, the ones who break the cycle and rise above the average, are the ones who never stop asking. They question the world, but more importantly, they question themselves. What if I tried? What if I gave it everything I had? What if I stopped letting fear be the loudest voice in the room? Listen, you don't need all the answers to move forward. You just need the courage to ask the right question. Because questions open doors that answers can't. Curiosity is what turns a factory worker into an entrepreneur. It's what turns a student into a scientist. It's what turns a kid from the streets into a world changer. It's not where you start. It's what you wonder about that determines where you go. So if you've been drifting, if you've been coasting, if you've been wondering why you're stuck, let me challenge you today to wake up your curiosity. Shake it up, stir the waters of your soul, because the life you want, the one that's calling you, the one you feel in your gut but can't quite explain, it's waiting on the other side of one simple question. What if I refuse to fail the way most people do? Don't fall into the trap. Don't become part of the 90% who live small, dream less, and die with regrets. Ask, seek, knock, get uncomfortable, get curious, because if you do that, really do that, you just might discover the life that was waiting for you all along. And if you stick with me, if you watch this all the way through, I'm going to show you exactly how to avoid the path most people take, and how to rise into the version of you that you were born to become. People fail because they live without direction. You can't win a race you haven't defined. Imagine getting into your car, putting the key in the ignition, stepping on the gas, and never deciding where you're going. You just drive left, right, straight. Maybe you'll end up somewhere good. Maybe you won't. That's how most people live their lives. They move, they hustle, they grind, but there's no destination in mind. No clear picture of where they want to be. and then they wonder why they're exhausted, frustrated, and lost. Purpose is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, you're just a leaf in the wind, blown around by circumstances, people's opinions, and random opportunity. And here's the thing, life will always give you something to do. There's always another task, another demand, another distraction. But if you don't decide on purpose what matters most, the world will decide for you. And trust me, it won't choose wisely. See, the reason most people fail isn't because they weren't working. It's because they were working without aim. A man can swing an axe all day long and never bring down a tree if he keeps missing the mark. That's what happens when you live without purpose. You stay busy, but you're never effective. You put in time, but you don't see results. You move fast, but you never move forward. Let me tell you something plain. Busyness is not purpose. Activity is not achievement. Just because you're tired doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. Most people confuse motion with progress, but they're not the same. Purpose gives your motion meaning. It gives your struggle value. When you have purpose, pain becomes fuel. When you don't, pain becomes frustration. And purpose isn't always some big grand calling you find in the clouds. No, sometimes it's just clarity. A decision, a reason why you're doing what you're doing. That's all purpose is. A why that's bigger than your excuses. A reason to keep going when it gets hard. A reason to say no to things that look good but don't align with your goals. A reason to stay focused when the noise gets loud. Most people never define that for themselves. They adopt someone else's vision. They chase dreams that don't belong to them. They follow trends, not truth. And eventually they burn out because living without purpose is like running on fumes. You can go fast for a while, but eventually you break down. Purpose centers you, it grounds you, it helps you endure the waiting, the setbacks, the failures. Because you know what you're fighting for. It sharpens your focus and makes your decisions easier. When you know your purpose, you don't waste time arguing with people who don't get it. You don't try to please everybody. You don't chase every shiny thing. You stay in your lane, you run your race, and that's how you win. So the question you have to ask yourself is simple. What's my why? Why am I waking up every day? Why am I putting in this work? Why do I want to be successful? If your answer is vague, your results will be too. But if your answer is clear, if it's deep, if it's personal, then nothing can stop you. Not failure, not rejection, not delay, not doubt. Because a person with purpose is a person on a mission. And a person on a mission can't be distracted. That's the second reason most people fail. They live without purpose. They chase movement instead of meaning. But not you, not anymore. From this moment forward, define your purpose. Write it down, own it, live it. Because when you do, you won't just avoid failure. You'll rise above it. Fear of failure. That's one of the biggest silent killers of dreams. And let's be honest, everybody feels it. Even the boldest people you admire, even the ones who seem unstoppable, they've felt that same fear. But here's the difference. Some people move despite it, and others let it control their every move. Most people fail because they never even start. Not because they didn't have potential. Not because they didn't have a dream, but because they were too scared to mess up. Too scared to fall short. Too scared to look foolish in front of people who don't even matter in the long run. And so, they stay in the stands while life passes them by. Fear of failure is sneaky. It disguises itself as logic. It says, maybe now's not the right time, or you're not ready yet, or what if it doesn't work? It wraps itself in fake wisdom, but it's really just insecurity wearing a mask. It whispers lies that sound like truth. But here's the reality. Failure isn't what destroys people. It's the fear of it. You know what failure really is. It's feedback. It's information. It's life saying that didn't work. Now try it this way. The most successful people you know have failed more times than most people have even tried. They've been embarrassed. They've made mistakes. They've lost money, lost time, lost confidence. But they got back up. They didn't let the fear write their story. That's what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. It's not talent. It's not resources. It's not even intelligence. It's the willingness to fail forward. The willingness to look foolish for a season in order to become wise in the next. The willingness to stumble publicly so you can grow privately. The willingness to be a beginner, to not be perfect, to not have it all together, and still keep going. And here's a truth you need to hear. You're going to fail sometimes. Yes, that's not a maybe, that's a guarantee. But failure isn't final unless you quit. If you can learn from it, it becomes part of your power. It becomes part of your story. Think about a child learning how to walk. They fall down hundreds of times, but they don't stop trying. They don't say, maybe walking isn't for me. No, they get up again and again until they're running. But somewhere along the way, we lose that boldness. We start caring too much about how we look, what others think, and whether or not we'll succeed on the first try. So we stop taking risks, we stay safe, we play small, and that's when the dream starts to die. Not because it wasn't possible, but because we let fear suffocate it. So if you're afraid of failing, good. That means you're stepping outside your comfort zone. That means you're reaching for something bigger than you. But don't let fear drive the car. Don't let it hold the pen to your story. Let it ride in the passenger seat, if it must. But you stay in control. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of it. You don't need to feel fearless to move. You just need to move, make the call, launch the idea, take the class, write the page, whatever it is, start. Because motion kills fear. Action breaks its grip. And once you do the thing you thought you couldn't do, you realize it was never as powerful as it pretended to be. Most people fail because they wait for the fear to go away before they start. But you're not most people. From this moment on, feel the fear and do it anyway. Greatness isn't built on motivation. It's built on routine. Most people quit after the hype dies down. They're excited at first, pumped up by inspiration and the possibility of change. They dive in head first, full of energy and vision. But that initial burst of motivation is short-lived. It fades. It gets replaced by doubt, by distractions, by the grind of daily life. And when that motivation dips, so do their efforts. And that's where most people fail. They think success is about how motivated you feel. But the truth is, motivation is a fleeting emotion. It's unreliable. It's not the foundation of long-term success. The key to success is discipline. The key is showing up every day whether you feel like it or not. The key is consistency. You don't need motivation to do what's necessary. You need discipline to build habits that don't depend on your feelings. Successful people don't wait for the perfect moment when they feel inspired. They do what they know needs to be done every single day, whether it's hard, whether it's boring, or whether it's not exciting in the moment. Consistency is what builds the foundation, the small, seemingly insignificant actions you take every day, the ones that don't show immediate results but build up over time. That's where success is born. Most people fail because they give up too soon. They expect quick results. They expect their hard work to pay off after a couple of weeks, maybe a month. But that's not how life works. You won't see big results right away. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Think about fitness. Most people go to the gym for the first time full of energy. They work hard, they sweat, they push their limits. But after a week or two, they don't see the results they were expecting. The scales don't move, the muscles don't show, and so they quit. What they don't realize is that the body doesn't change in a week. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes months of discipline. It takes doing the work when you don't feel like it. The people who succeed at fitness aren't the ones who work the hardest once or twice. They're the ones who keep coming back, even when it's not easy, even when the results are slow. The same applies to any area of your life. Whether it's building a business, learning a new skill, or mastering a craft, it's not about how excited you are on day one. It's about how committed you are on day 1000. It's about the routine you create for yourself, the daily actions that build up to something bigger. You have to be willing to show up, even when no one is watching, even when the applause is absent, and even when the world is telling you to quit. Motivation will not keep you going when the novelty wears off, but your discipline will. When you build systems, when you design routines that support your goals, you create a life that doesn't depend on how you feel. You build momentum, and momentum is the secret to success. Think about the people who have achieved extraordinary things. They don't have some secret motivation that you don't. They simply have the discipline to keep going when the rest of the world gives up. They've figured out that consistency is more important than the short bursts of inspiration. They've built habits, routines, and systems that push them toward success even when they're tired, distracted, or not in the mood. You don't have to be motivated to succeed, but you do have to be disciplined. You have to build a routine that works for you and stick to it. You have to show up every single day, even when you don't feel like it. That's the secret to unlocking your full potential. Because it's not the big moments of inspiration that make you great. It's the small, consistent actions you take day after day that lead to success. And when you get that, when you understand that, you'll never fail again. In a world full of distractions, most people fail because they never learn how to focus. You see, we live in a time where attention is the most valuable commodity. Everywhere you turn, there's something vying for your attention. Social media, notifications, the news, the pressure of other people's opinions, the constant bombardment of tasks and demands. It's all designed to pull you in 100 different directions. But here's the thing, you cannot achieve anything meaningful if you're constantly distracted. The price of success is the ability to focus on what truly matters, and most people fail because they don't know how to say no to the noise. Distractions are everywhere, but the real danger lies in how easily we give into them. It's not just the loud stuff, the constant dings and pings on your phone, the social media scrolls, the gossip in the break room. It's also the subtle distractions, the things that seem important at the moment but aren't actually moving you closer to your goals. People get distracted by busy work, the tasks that feel productive but don't drive meaningful results. They get sidetracked by things that are urgent but not important. And before they know it, hours, days, and weeks have gone by, and they're still stuck in the same place, asking themselves why they're not making progress. Focus isn't just about tuning out distractions. It's about learning to prioritize. It's about understanding that everything in your life doesn't deserve your attention, and the things that do deserve it need to be given the best of you, not just what's left after you've spread yourself thin across 100 other things. People who succeed understand the power of deep work. They carve out time to focus on the tasks that will actually move them forward. They shut out the noise. They block off time for themselves. They do the work that's hard but rewarding, the work that requires sustained attention, the work that takes more than just a quick burst of energy. They give it their full concentration. The challenge, however, is that focus requires discipline. And discipline isn't always easy to come by when the world is constantly throwing distractions at you. But if you want to unlock your full potential, you have to learn how to harness your focus and guard it like your life depends on it. Because, in a way, it does. Your potential will be wasted if you can't stay focused long enough to do the deep work that matters. You need to be able to turn off the noise, whether that's your phone, your email, the people around you, and zero in on what you need to do to move forward. And that requires a conscious effort, a commitment to protect your time and your mental energy. The most successful people don't do everything. They choose what matters, and they put their full focus on those things. They know how to say no to everything that doesn't align with their goal. They're not afraid to cut out the distractions, to leave behind the things that won't get them where they want to go. And that's the difference between those who succeed and those who fail. The ability to stay focused on the task at hand, regardless of the external noise. But focus is not just about work. It's also about learning to direct your energy where it matters in your life. You can't be everything to everyone, and you shouldn't try to be. Whether it's in your personal relationships, your career, or your own personal growth. If you don't focus, you'll spread yourself too thin and never truly excel at anything. Real growth happens when you decide to focus on one thing at a time and give that thing everything you've got. You have to understand that your attention is a finite resource. You can't afford to waste it on the things that don't move you forward. Whether that's a toxic relationship, a dead-end job, or mindlessly scrolling through your phone. You're giving away your power every time you get distracted. To avoid failure, you have to learn how to take control of your focus, protect it fiercely, feed it with what matters, because if you don't, the distractions will eat you alive. Focus is not just a skill, it's a mindset, and it's the key to unlocking the greatness that's inside you. If you can master focus, you can master your life. And that's what separates those who succeed from those who get lost in the noise. Who you surround yourself with has an undeniable impact on your success. The people in your life, the ones you listen to, the ones you spend time with, the ones who influence your thinking, have the power to either elevate you or keep you stuck. Most people fail because they allow themselves to be surrounded by the wrong voices. They listen to the doubters, the naysayers, the people who tell them why something can't be done, rather than the voices of those who encourage growth, possibility, and ambition. The truth is, your environment shapes you more than you realize. If you're constantly around people who are small-minded, people who are content with mediocrity, people who don't believe in themselves, how can you expect to rise above that? If everyone around you is settling, if they're all living in their comfort zones, their attitudes will seep into your own life. And before you know it, you're making excuses too. You're doubting your own potential. You're questioning whether your dreams are too big. You're allowing others' limitations to become your own. But success requires a different kind of company. It requires people who believe in more. People who challenge you to step up, to take risks, to keep pushing when things get hard. It requires mentors who have already walked the path and can show you the way. It requires friends who will encourage your growth, who will hold you accountable, and who will celebrate your victories, not just criticize your failures. The right people will lift you higher. The wrong ones will weigh you down. The problem is that many people don't take this seriously enough. They continue to hang around people who don't share their goals, their values, or their vision. They get stuck in toxic environments where negativity is the default setting and wonder why they're not making any progress. You cannot expect to reach greatness if you're constantly surrounded by people who don't believe in greatness. And it's not just about physical proximity. It's about the messages you're consuming every day. It's about the media you engage with, the opinions you allow into your mind, the things you watch and listen to. Are they feeding your vision?